Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Brandon Lindsay, and in this video what I want to talk about is my experience securing and getting my first load as a trucking company business owner. So when I first got started, I was working full-time and I had the trucking company on the side. So I needed people in place to help me run this business, and one of those people that I hired was a dispatcher, because I didn't have any loads or any connections with direct shippers, or I didn't have a way to get direct shippers, so I went with the dispatcher. And the dispatcher was finding the loads on the load board. So the first load this dispatcher found for me was from a broker, and I have some paperwork here from that first load, was from a broker called Sloan Transport. So that first load was booked on March 30th, 2018. It was going from Peru, Indiana to a town outside of Detroit, Michigan. That load was only 200 miles, but that load paid $1,100. So that was a $550 a mile load. And I remember really excited to get that load when I was just getting started. I was really excited for that. And it was a partial load. It was a light load. It was only 11 pallets. And the weight on it was 10,420 pounds. What made the load pay so much was because it was a hot load, meaning that the broker, they needed the load. They put the load on the load board that day, and it needed to be picked up and delivered all in the same day. So that's why they were willing to pay $1,100 or $550 a mile, because they really needed to get that load to the receiver that day. So the broker called me and she told me she had the load secured, got in touch with the driver, loaded up, and the driver headed out to pick up the load. And I remember just being kind of nervous, like, because it was my first time. It was the first load. I got the paperwork from the broker, and I'm reading all over the paperwork, making sure I understand everything that needs to be done. And I'm talking to the driver on his way up there. Hey, you got the rate confirmation? You know, it's telling you make sure you got PPE on all the property. I was probably getting on his nerves too, because he's a trucker. He's been trucking, so he wasn't worried about any of this. But me being new, I'm like, do you got all the PPE? Do you see? You got to have this. You got to have that. He's like, man, I got all that stuff already. We're good. You don't need to worry about anything, Brandon. I'm gonna make sure I get this load picked up and get it dropped off, so everybody is happy. So I said, okay. So he gets there that afternoon. He does exactly like what he says he needs to do. He gets there. He straps up the load. He tarps it. And this load, again, it's a flatbed, so this load had to be tarped. He did tarp the load, but he also did tell me, man, it was a big tarp job. So he's glad the load paid so well. Because it was a pretty big tarp job. So so run under the gun. So he gets there, he does what he needs to do, and he gets the paperwork he needs to check in to the receiver, because the broker did tell us that the receiver actually stops receiving at 2 p.m. So because they're making an exception, because they need to get this load received that night, the driver had to actually pick up what they called an after-hour slip from the shipper, because he's going to need the after-hour slip to check in to the receiver. Like, we couldn't check in without this after-hour slip. I remember that being so important. Hey, man, make sure you get the after-hour slip. Make sure you get the after-hour slip, so that when you get the receiver, we can check it. They'll check us in. So he's loaded up. He heads up there. He's got all his paperwork he needs. And he gets to the receiver, and it's like, there was such a rush to get this load up there, such a rush. And we get there, and like, he can't find anybody to check him in. So we're calling the broker, like, hey, what's going on? We're there. Where is everybody? You guys needed to get this load. This was such a big load. This was such a big rush. Like, did we miss it? Like, did everybody go home, or what's going on? And apparently, like, they were like taking it was like a night shift, and they were like taking a lunch break or something like that. But anyway, there was a lot of back and forth between me, the broker, and the driver. I mean, we're on the phone to probably like It was late. We were on the phone at probably like 11 o'clock that night trying to get this load in. So somebody finally ends up coming to like the guard shack or something and letting the driver in, letting us know that, yeah, they were taking a break. And so finally he was able to get checked in. And it ended up working out pretty well, getting that first load off. So I was really excited about it. And that's how my first experience went with trucking. So I recorded this video and hopefully it helps somebody else out. I know sometimes hearing these like behind the scenes stories can kind of make it seem real for some people out there when they're just kind of learning and going through the paperwork and just trying to understand this business and what this trucking industry is like. So thanks for watching the video. Give it a thumbs up if you like it, and I'll see you in the next video.